Okay, hey Bruce, how are you?
Okay, how are you, Douglas?
Doing fine, thank you. Thank you for coming on the video show. As we talked about before we got on, you had never been on the video show, but you've been on the audio podcast, I think, 3 times, something like that.
That could be three times. Yeah, it could be.
But every time you came on, we always had a good conversation, and you always had something else to talk about, something new. It always worked out well, but this is the first time that people get to see you. So,
Okay.
welcome to the video show. You're promoting another one of your graphic novels called Dr. Jekyll Alien Hunter. You know?
Yes. Yes, that's my latest project. In fact, it is now, as of yesterday, I think, available, or the day before, available on Amazon.
Is this part of the series? Because last time you were on, you were promoting another graphic novel. I forget the title, but is this all
Snark.
Snark?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Is this all connected?
It's in the same universe, the Snark universe. So Dr. Jekyll appeared as a character in Snark 2, and then everybody liked the character so much, and I liked the character so much, I thought she deserved her own graphic novel, comic book. So I developed that, and the problem was that the artist that I had used for Snark 1 and Snark 2 was not available. So I decided I'm going to go ahead with it, and I'll find another artist. Well, just for this one, Snark 3 is going to go back to Gary Dumm, who did Snark 1 and Snark 2. I've had to find a new artist, and I just by chance found on Instagram, saw this artwork that I really liked. And she was a 19-year-old artist from Krakow, Poland, named Julia Kazanowska. And she agreed to do it, and she did an excellent job. It's a lot different style than Gary Dumm, who has the more classic comic book style, from the 70s when he was started out. And Julia, of course, she's now 20, but she's very young and has a very different style. But it seems to fit this female lead character. It does fit very well, I think, into this graphic novel.
Would you call this novel a spin off?
Yes, you could call it a spin-off because it's actually in time-wise in the universe of Snark, it's a prequel to Snark 1. So and so it's a prequel to that. And I'll have to keep everything straight as I go on to Dr. Jekyll number 2 and Snark number 3. So, but it's kind of fun. So it is a prequel.
A prequel. Okay, so it's out of order time wise,
Hmm.
like
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Star
I'm going
Wars.
back. Yeah, kind of like Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad.
Okay. Well, Star Wars was like that as well. The
Yeah, exactly.
right, four,
Yeah,
five, and six came out 20 years before one, two, and three did.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is that's how it's working time wise. So it is connected. It's the same Snark universe. In this case, she is not an alien hybrid like Snark. She is just a regular human being, no superpowers, but she is super smart and very intuitive, and she's an academic, an anthropology professor at Cleveland State University, where her father also taught anthropology and kind of lost his job because he got into alien, looking for aliens and ancient aliens and so forth. So he's kind of driven out of the university. Well, she gets tenure at the same university and faces the same scrutiny, saying, "Oh, you're going down a path that your father did, following in his footsteps." But she bravely carries on and then starts to have some pretty remarkable experiences and goes to exotic locations and faces a lot of challenges. So a lot more than she expected, and she there's like a journal that her father kept of all of his studies, and she follows it and tries to find clues, and so it's a really fun character. And it's I think it's as far as I know, and I know comic books pretty well, it's the only female lead character in a comic book or graphic novel who is a person of color or biracial and is not a superhero. she's just a regular person. So I just think it's kind of unique in that, and yeah, it's been a blast. And working with Julia, I'm working with the same editor that I work, George Varangos, who worked on Snark 1 and Snark 2. But Julia is the artist, and she's just fantastic. And I'm glad I got her now when she's 19 and 20, because I think in about 10 years I won't be able to afford her. She's that good.
Well, hopefully
at
for
this
her.
Age.
Yeah. So what time is this in? Is it future? Is it past? Is it present?
It's pretty much present day or around present day. So it's not that far removed from where we are right now. Yeah, so I don't go back and, well, I shouldn't say that, because there is because in the Snark world there is the ability to go into the interdimensional vortex and move around in time, but that doesn't really happen in Dr. Jekyll yet.
Is this science fiction? Would you classify it as science fiction?
I would say it's kind of a interesting combination of science fiction, fantasy, adventure. There's humor in it. There's historical sites, especially related to the paranormal and aliens. She goes to Skinwalker Ranch, for instance. That's one of the locations she goes to. So I've had so much fun writing this, and I like the fact, I know it sounds like, well, if you got a superhero character, you can do anything, right? But then it just becomes kind of almost tiresome, because, they can just do anything, whereas you got a real person, you got real challenges that they face as just a normal person. And how do they deal with the supernatural? How do they deal with the paranormal? How do they deal with aliens who have these incredible powers? And as a normal person, how are they up to that challenge? And so I kind of like that down to earth approach. So it combines a bunch of different things that I like. And of course, I'm a historian, so I have to throw in historical sites.
Well, I've always been kind of perplexed by the idea that if something is a science fiction, it almost always is in the future. However, with superheroes, even though technically it could be science fiction because they do things that don't exist in our reality now, they're almost always set in present time. So I never knew if a superhero was its own genre away from science fiction or not.
I think it kind of is, at least as, and it's, like when these superhero comics, which I grew up on and I loved. I mean, that's what got me reading, was the fact, the early Marvels, the Fantastic Four, the Hulk, all that. I read all of that stuff. And then as I got older, I got into, the underground comics and things. So, the more subversive stuff, which as a teenager, I loved that, breaking a lot of boundaries there. And then I did along the way encounter my mentor, Harvey Pekar, and American Splendor. And I always admired his approach, which was really not superhero and very down to earth, directly off the streets of Cleveland, as it said on the cover. And that's how I came to, looking back at an old American Splendor, I saw Gary Dumm's artwork, and I said, I wonder if Gary would be interested in illustrating some comics for me. And sure enough, he was. We got to know each other. We liked each other. So there's that interesting, connection to the, to my comics writing mentor, Harvey Pekar, who died in 2010, for those that are maybe not aware of that. And it was made in, his life was made, and his comics were made into a film in 2003, starring Paul Giamatti. Really, I think it won a bunch of awards.
What was the name of the film?
American Splendor.
Okay.
Yeah. And
let me ask you about SNARK. That's an acronym?
No, it's not.
It's not.
That's his name. And
Okay.
the how that came about was that I was actually working as a jail guard in West Germany. I was in the army, and I would spend hours out in the guard towers. I'd work inside too, but I liked being in the guard tower so I could think. And I wasn't supposed to have writing materials, but I would take writing materials with me, just a notepad and a pen, and I would write stories. And I came up with this idea of a alien, half alien, half, an alien hybrid character named Snark. I spelled it with a K though. And I started thinking about this, picturing what he looked like with the the lizard comb on his head, and but not a superhero looking guy, more of a regular kind of person, although they were half alien, half human. And when I got out of the military the first time in 1982, I was going to engineering school at Montana Tech, Butte, Montana, and I joined the newspaper staff, and I was an artist for them because I'm a frustrated artist. And I asked, "Can I do a comic strip?" Because I had this character in mind, and they said, "Sure. What is it?" And I said, "Snark." And, he's half alien, half human, and I called it Snark, a space tragedy, instead of a space odyssey, a space tragedy. So they said, "Oh, we love it," and so it was very popular. I did 5 of those comic strips, and that was 1982. And then I dropped out of engineering school, and it just sat there for all those years until 2019. So 37 years later, Gary Dumm agrees to illustrate Snark, and it comes to life. And then because of Snark coming to life, that's how Dr. Jekyll came to life. So it's I've done a lot of things in my life, and I've published a lot of books, academic books and so forth, even a history textbook. But the thing I'm most proud of are my comic books and graphic novels.
Well, I'm glad they came to life. I mean, 37 years is
Yeah,
a long time, but
it's a long time to wait, but it
yeah.
was worth it. And yeah, and actually what kind of gave me the idea was that my second eldest son, who's an engineer, he found the old Snark strip. I guess I sent it to him or something, and he decided to surprise me for Christmas. He decided to make a 3D bust of Snark, and he gave it to me. And when I got it, and he said, "You really should do something with that." And I said, "Okay, I gotta talk to Gary about this." And so my second eldest son, Byron, kind of tipped the scales there, pushed me back into the Snark world, and I'm glad he did. And now we've done 2 Snarks and Dr. Jekyll, and the third one is I've already written it, and I do storyboards because I'm a frustrated comic book artist. I do storyboards, and I give that to Gary and to Julia, and they go from there and make it beautiful. And I don't trust myself to do a finished comic book. I can maybe do 1 panel, and it probably take me 6 months, whereas they can do beautiful work pretty quick.
All right, Bruce, we got to wind this down. We are out of time. Do you have a website you want to give out?
Sure. Just my personal website has everything. BruceOlavSolheim.com. OLAV is the middle name. BruceOlavSolheim.com. And you can find everything there that I've done.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming on the VE show. It was nice to see you for a change, and best of luck with all of this. Now, the Dr. Jekyll Alien Hunter is out.
It's out on Amazon as we speak as a print book, and it should be live later today or tomorrow as a ebook too, for those that are more budget minded and don't mind digital.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well,